Hey there, and today's we figured out we're going to do something a little different. Usually we do stuff that's from Asia or the Orient because it's usually language problem, right? It's all in Japanese or Chinese or other languages. So I've done a series of videos explaining what products are. Now we're going to go to the other side of the world and we're going to go to Germany. Now we have a bunch of products from Revell Germany, which include some paints, adhesives, and other finishing products. They're not particularly new, but they may be new to you because, you know, we have these things on display. We have a lot of things in the store. You may not have really paid any attention to them, so I'm going to point out some of the features of them. So first I'm going to talk about paint. I did a previous video where I tested one of the sprays. I tested a yellow because yellow is a very hard color to lay down, and I wanted to see how much this paint stunk. It didn't have a high smell factor. It dried fairly quickly, and the yellow covered nicely. I put it on my paint peg, which was covered with all kinds of dark paints, and it covered very nicely in a couple of coats. So it was a very nice paint to work with, and as I say, it didn't have a lot of smell. Now, in the spray line, they have a number of colors, which, well, let me start by saying, first of all, if you buy a Revell Germany kit, the call-outs and the instructions for paints are for Revell Germany paints. That's a plus, especially for anybody new to the hobby. The other thing about Revell paints is that, for example, in the sprays, they have clears, clear flat, clear gloss. There was a time it was extremely hard for me to get Tamiya or any other brands. This was the only stuff I had in the store. I think if a lot of people had known it was on the rack, they may have chosen to try it rather than have nothing. The other thing I like is they have semi-gloss black, which I haven't had. Tamiya TS29 semi-gloss black. I haven't had it for ages. They're always out of stock. This again could be a good alternative. And they have a semi-gloss white, which Tamiya does not make. Now, as to their paint, so far in Canada, all we have are the acrylic paints. They come in these little square bottles, but they're actually round inside. So it's like a little pot with a square bottle. It's supposed to help not tip over. There are two lines on the side, which you cut with your X-Acto knife, and then you twist the top off. And then once it's open, it's a little round pot in there, and then you just pop it back on when you're done. It's easy water clean up. Like all acrylics, if you have some stubborn stuff, some people will use alcohol or Windex with some ammonia in it to clean out any stubborn paint. They do, however, make their own cleaner, and they make their own color mix, which is their thinner for airbrushing. I've used them both. They work very well. I had a report from somebody the other day that some of this product can work with lacquer paints. I have not tested that. If you have and you want to comment on that, please do so below. I just picked 3 black paints to point out the fact that it comes in gloss, flat, and semi-gloss. And also, the whites come that way. There are a number of metallics, there are a number of camouflage colors, and there's a number of automotive colors. It's not a big range, but it's varied and has some neat colors that you might not find in other lines. Now, I did a little bit of research on this. The enamel paints from Revell have not come to Canada yet, and they come in little tinlets. So myself, like I'm sure many others, assumed, Umbro paint under a different label. All the research, all the forums, some of them you may have contributed to, tell me otherwise. The Revell paint was independently created. It came in a tin. I guess it copied the Umbro style of manufacture and marketing, but it is not Umbro paint. The same with acrylic. I automatically assumed that it was probably Umbro acrylic paint because Umbro has an acrylic line. The colors are dissimilar, and certainly the packages. I've had Umbro acrylics that had a little bottle with a pry-off lid. This little square job is totally different than what they offer. So I would tend to agree with my research online that this is not Umbro paint. The other reason I thought it was Umbro paint was they have a precision glue, a little needle applicator. And that to me looks like straight off the Umbro playbook, but apparently no, it's not. They just copied. So this is a glue with a little needle applicator, which can be handy for getting it into really tight spots. I'll show you. Literally a needle. I understand the glue works very well. The only criticism I have of the glue, or have heard from the glue, I don't use it myself, is that this little tube, of course, being a very thin tube, will clog up with glue. And sometimes it's hard to clean out. Now, I've heard holding it to a candle and stuff like that will melt the glue, and something small that you can push in there to clear it out will work. If you've got experience with this glue and you'd like to share what you do about that, please put it below. It would help a lot of people because the glue is popular. That's the only sticking point, if you will excuse the pun. If you don't want to use that type of glue, they do have a tube cement. I'll tell you, this was a lifesaver. Right before testers doubled the price of their tube cement, this was the only tube cement I had available for sale in the store. So it was a lifesaver for modelers at the time. I understand it's a very good glue, and like with most of these products, less is more. Don't put a ton of it on, just as much as you need. A more recent addition to us was they make their own extra thin solvent cement in a bottle with a jar. I assume it performs as well as any other solvent cement, whether it be Humbrol testers, Tamiya, or what have you. I will say it's got a pretty large brush in it. You can see it in there. So unlike a Tamiya, small fine brush, it's got more of a mop, more like the tester style. Again, I have not used it. If you have, please share your thoughts with it below. As with anything, sharing is explaining, is telling all the modelers things they need to know. Tell us your successes, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. More knowledge is better for all of us. Here's a product I think is completely overlooked in the store. It's called Color Stop. What's Color Stop mean? Color Stop is a masking fluid. It's a latex style. So you put this stuff on, it's kind of goopy, it's white. When it dries, you paint over it, and then it peels off latex. Very similar to Humbrol Mascal. They make theirs purple, this is white. And sometimes it gets a little dryish in the bottom, so you can see it turns sort of a creamy yellow color in the bottom. So I assume that's what it's going to look like when you put it on the model. I have used the Humbrol effectively. I like it because you can see where you put it, and it's easy to pull off when you're done. Some of the other agents are very difficult to lift, and they can be somewhat problematic. Last thing I want to talk about is Contacta Clear. So everything is, Contacta. So Contacta, I guess, is a word for glue or an adhesive or something. But in this case, this is a clear part cement. So you use this on your canopies, your clear parts and that. I assume like most clear part cements, it's kind of whitish looking in the bottle. It will dry perfectly clear, and it will not have an active agent in it that will craze plastic. So if you get it on your windshields or clear parts, you should be able to wipe it off without damaging them. So as I say, we didn't reinvent the wheel here or anything, but these products are all available for sale in our store and on our website. So if you come in looking for liquid mask and I don't have your favorite one, you might want to try this one. If I'm out of clear finishes, give the Revell a look. If you need a semi-gloss white spray, only game in town right now. And again, these paints, I have painted some of the acrylic, hand brushed them, and I thought they worked very well. They covered very nicely, dried pretty quick, so they were favorable to me. I've airbrushed them to a limited extent using the Aqua Color thinner, and I used the cleaner to clean my airbrush. Seemed to perform fairly well. I sprayed a very light color. I think it was their one of their super light grays or off whites or whatever on an Espo. They laid down okay, so no concerns. Handled like most acrylic paints. The key is always, if you can, until you learn more about it, use the paint, use the match thinner. It cuts down on any problems. So I hope I've opened your eyes to some products that have been kicking around the store, possibly alternates for things you try, possibly new things that might perform better than what you're currently using. It's all about testing, experimentation, and most of all, sharing. I can't say enough. If you've tried any of this stuff, whether you like it, whether you hate it, share your thoughts below. Make us all better modelers by sharing. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon. Okay, don't forget, please subscribe, slap that bell, hit that like button, and join Team Hobby Center.